You know when you look up at the night sky and you see the planets, what are you really looking at? We think of them as these giant balls of rock and gas, right? But what if an ancient system saw them as something completely different, as active forces that could literally capture our minds? Okay, let's get into this really fascinating perspective from Jyotish, or Vedic astrology.
And this right here, this is the whole key. The ancient word they used wasn't planet, it was graha. And as this quote tells us, it completely reframes these celestial bodies. They're not just distant objects, they're active influences that can bind our thoughts and shape our paths. This isn't just about astronomy, it's like a map of consciousness itself.
All right, so what in the world is a graha? To really get this system, you kind of have to hit pause on our modern definitions and jump into a concept that's thousands of years old. Let's break it down. Okay, get this. The Sanskrit root of the word graha literally means to seize or to capture. And here's the wild part. This capture isn't physical. It hits your mind first. Your whole way of thinking can shift, and suddenly you're mentally captured by a certain idea, a pattern, or an impulse.
And this slide just lays it all out, doesn't it? The difference is huge. For modern astronomy, a planet is all about its physical stats, what it orbits, its shape, its path. But for Jyotish, a graha is defined by just two things, perspective and influence. Does it look like it's moving across our sky, and does it have a real effect on life down here? If yes, it's a graha. Simple as that.
So, with that pretty unique definition in mind, who actually makes the cut? Who are the main players in this cosmic drama? The system zeroes in on 9 primary influencers. Let's meet the team.
The 9 grahas are broken down into 3 really simple groups. First, you've got the 2 big ones, the luminaries, the sun and the moon. Then you have the 5 planets you can actually see with your own eyes from Earth, Mars, Mercury, Jupiter, Venus, and Saturn. And finally, you get these 2, well, they're kind of weird. They're called Rahu and Ketu, the shadow nodes.
And I know what you're probably thinking, because I was thinking it too. Hold on a second. The sun's a star, the moon is our satellite. What are they even doing on this list? Astronomically, this feels, well, wrong. So what's the deal?
The answer brings us right back to that one core principle. It's all about our perspective here on Earth. The system uses an Earth-centered view for its calculations, not because they didn't know the sun was at the center, the old text suggests they did, but because it made the math for calculating influences on us way, way simpler. The sun looks like it moves across our sky, and the moon absolutely has tangible effects, from ocean tides to our moods, so they count.
Now, what about Rahu and Ketu? Honestly, these might be the most fascinating of them all. They aren't physical objects you can point to in a telescope. They're called shadow grahas. They're simply the 2 mathematical points in space where the moon's orbital path crosses the sun's apparent path from our view. Think of them as cosmic crossroads. They're how you calculate eclipses. And since eclipses are a huge deal, these powerful points earn a spot on the list. So this brings us to one final, really crucial question to kind of lock this all in. If this entire system is so Earth-centered, why isn't Earth itself one of the 9 grahas?
And the logic is just beautifully simple. You can't measure the influence of the ground you're standing on. Earth is our observation deck. It's the stable reference point from which everything else is measured. In other words, it's the canvas, not one of the paints. Makes perfect sense when you think about it, right?
Okay, so we know what grahas are, and just as importantly, what they aren't. Now let's get to the really good stuff, how this system claims to reflect our actual lives, from the cosmos right down into our own consciousness.
This is so important to understand. The influence of the grahas isn't described as a physical force like gravity. It's way more subtle than that. It's seen as a symbolic reflection. Each graha represents some universal principle, a piece of a cosmic mind, and our individual minds are said to react and resonate with these principles as they move through the sky.
You can see this connection perfectly with the 5 elements. The same basic building blocks of our world, fire, water, earth, air, and space, are also said to be governed by the grahas. The sun? That's pure fire. The moon and Venus? They rule over water and our emotions. So these cosmic principles aren't just out there. They're in here, reflected inside our own bodies and temperaments.
And this whole idea of reflection extends to the entire arc of our lives. Just like nature cycles through seasons, so does a human life. Youth is seen as our summer, full of heat and activity. Adulthood, when we're building our families and careers, is like the productive rainy season. And old age is our autumn,
a time of withdrawal and reflection. It's a really beautiful parallel.
And the system actually codifies these life cycles into a grand timeline called the Vimshottari Dasha. It's a 120-year period, which was considered the ideal human lifespan. Over those 120 years, each of the 9 grahas gets to take a turn in the driver's seat, ruling a specific chapter of your life and bringing its unique themes and lessons right to your doorstep.
And this is absolutely crucial. None of these forces are seen as just good or evil. The source texts describe them as a mix of auspicious and cruel, and they say that no one is born with a perfect chart where everything is easy. It's the mix, the interplay of all these different forces that creates the unique and complex story that is your life.
So when you take a step back and look at the whole thing, you realize the concept of grahas offers a completely different kind of cosmic map. It's not a map of physical space, it's a symbolic map of the forces and archetypes that shape both our inner and outer worlds.
It's a profound shift in perspective, isn't it? To see the heavens not as just a collection of objects, but as a giant mirror reflecting parts of our own consciousness back at us. Which leaves us with a final thought to chew on. If the grahas are a map of these cosmic forces, which one do you think is guiding you today?